I typically, I typically only get to sing and never get to speak, so I'm very excited to be able to deliver a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here with you tonight. In the first year of his second term, President Trump and his administration have boldly reasserted executive authority through decisive actions in national security, economics, social policy, and foreign affairs. I applaud these achievements without reservation. Yet, it would be a strategic error to believe that they alone can win over the hearts of millions of Americans whose minds have been indoctrinated by the left. As conservatives, we speak of saving Western civilization, but too many forget what we're saving: the extraordinary high culture America inherited from Europe and made distinctly its own. Volumes have been written about how leftist academic institutions and news outlets have poisoned American minds against the USA and the West in general. Little attention is paid, however, to the arts and entertainment industries, the mightiest and yet under-scrutinized tool that the left uses for the ideological programming and emotional manipulation of the masses. Millions of Americans base their morals and opinions on cues that they get from the arts and entertainment scenes. Without changing those cues, we will face endless resistance, no matter how superior our values, ideas, and accomplishments. While the left weaponizes the arts indiscriminately, Republicans ignore them to their detriment. For decades, cultural Marxism advanced quietly and methodically. Conservatives dismissed high culture as unimportant or trusted that the free market would correct course. Some even declared, after President Trump's 2024 victory, that we live in a post-woke era. They are profoundly mistaken. Wokeism survives through its appeal to the lowest common denominator, celebrating mediocrity, self-destruction, and antisocial and even criminal behavior. It lets social misfits feel righteous while tearing down civilization, aided by cancel culture and mob rule. The situation remains dire. In elite schools, classical training remains condemned as oppressive. Major institutions retain diversity bureaucracies under new names. Programs are caught not for artistic failure, but for failing ideological quotas. Places that once pursued excellence and recompensed merit now serve as Marxist re-education camps which reward party loyalty and victimhood status. America must reclaim its role, not only as the world's unmatched political and economic power, but as the guardian of the West's greatest artistic traditions. We need to recapture, reorganize, and repurpose the arts and entertainment industries and put them at the service of our conservative agenda. Contrary to what many conservatives believe, the free market cannot eradicate the Marxist rot in our cultural institutions. That's because culture is no ordinary commodity. Markets reward volume, speed, and mass appeal. They do not protect high culture or civilizational heritage. No artistically dominant civilization ever entrusted its soul to quarterly earning reports on a spreadsheet. Other countries deliberately harness culture's soft power. America, by contrast, spends less than $7 per person per year on culture. Many European nations, left and right, spend over 4,000% more. To understand the scope and ability of funding the arts to shape public perceptions, consider Venezuela. Chavez and Maduro effectively art-washed their regime via the El Sistema Youth Orchestra Network, elevating loyalists like Gustavo Dudamel to international stardom. Today, Dudamel, who has been denounced as Maduro's unofficial ambassador by the Human Rights Foundation, leads the Los Angeles Philharmonic and will soon direct the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. Let that sink in. The response by conservatives has been, at best, to defund hostile institutions. But we must also build, curate, govern, and generously fund culture strategically, as the left does. To change course, we need the full resources of the federal government and the Republican-led states on a scale unseen in generations. Simultaneously, conservative philanthropy must organize to match left-leaning organizations like the Ford and Mellon Foundations through ample, sustained, and coordinated giving. Fearing that Democrats might later use these tools is cutting off our nose to spite our face. Take the Trump Kennedy Center as a prime example. It should flagship a renewed American cultural vision, setting global excellence standards. Yet, decades of mismanagement and continued chronic underfunding of its artistic mission, despite President Trump's massive budget boost to remodel the premises, have reduced it to an upscale rental venue, relying on safe commercial programming and tenants like the Washington National Opera, whose leaders are hostile to the Trump administration. When when their agreement with the center was terminated last week, the WNO leadership disingenuously tried to publicly attribute the termination of the remaining of their contract to the renaming of the center, rather than acknowledge that their failures were due to their woke programming and financial mismanagement. Moreover, cancel culture's purge of Republican arts leaders left President Trump with few qualified insiders to choose from, forcing him to appoint outsiders like Ambassador Brunel, who is brilliantly rising to the challenge, but whose biggest strengths are in diplomacy, and whose absence from foreign policy is a loss in that arena. Inertia and commercial pressures persist. Renaming, refurbishing, or tweaking boards will not suffice for the artistic and cultural restoration of this country. This pattern is also seen in America's great museums, concert halls, theaters, and opera houses, all of which were originally built by conservative titans like Carnegie, Rockefeller, Morgan, Mellon, Guggenheim, and Frick. Today, for every conservative mega donor like the late David Koch, there are dozens of billionaires pushing a leftist agenda in the arts. Benjamin Franklin understood this pragmatically. The arts are essential for moral growth, intellectual refinement, and the habits of self-government. A republic cannot survive without a cultured citizenry resistant to internal decay. A post-woke American cultural renaissance is therefore not a luxury, it's also not a vanity project. It is a strategic necessity for this great nation's revival. Thank you.